Before moving to Hamilton, Ontario, make sure you watch this video, as you probably have some preconceived notions of what it's like living in Hamilton, Ontario, whether you've heard it from past or current residents, or you just live in a neighboring city and heard things through the grapevine. And oftentimes, what I find when chatting with clients that are thinking about whether or not Hamilton is right for them is a wide variety of different opinions. And while yes, sometimes those opinions are accurate, other times I find them wrong, whether that's flat out or just wrong for certain areas of Hamilton. As you see, back in the early 2000s, 2001 to be exact, Hamilton actually joined up with some of the neighboring towns such as Ancaster, Stoney Creek, Dundas, Waterdown, Flamborough, and Glanbrook, and as a result have a lot of different diversity, culture, and just looks and feels of what you can expect when living there. So in today's video, I thought I would share with you the top cons of each of these places, why you might regret moving to each of them, as well as a few pros of why the residents living there absolutely love them. So if you're new here, my name's Matthew, I'm a local realtor, and this is my channel where I share everything about what it's like living in Burlington and the surrounding areas like Hamilton. But other than that, let's just dive on in. So overall, most people know Hamilton, but like I mentioned, Hamilton is really divided up into a wide variety of different areas, as you can see here. So let's just dive on in and talk about the first area, which is Central Hamilton. Now, one of the major cons about living in this area here is the manufacturing, as Hamilton is known as the Hammer, or better known as Steel Town. And that's because it's rich history with the steel manufacturing plants. And while it does give a great story, it definitely is a big negative for residents that don't want to live in an industrial manufacturing area. So while you're not going to notice the manufacturing industrial area in all of central Hamilton in the mountain, it's still definitely one of those cons, as not only do you have just the look of the industrial stuff, but also some of the ramifications of it. In particular, two. One, it's the road conditions. Because Steeltown has a lot of heavier equipment coming in and out, there tends to be a bit more road wear and tear, and as a result, the roads are sometimes not the best qualities from around the industrial area. But two, because of its long history with the manufacturing sector, in times you can find the pollution being a bit higher in Hamilton compared to some of the neighboring cities, especially in the central parts. And then the second major negative about living in the central hub of Hamilton is the gentrification going on, as because more and more people are looking to move to Hamilton as a whole, more prices of homes are going up, as well as the cost of living. And as a result, the people that were once able to call Hamilton home are being pushed out. And as a result, you're also going to see, one, a lot more homeless people and at-risk people in the downtown core of Hamilton's area. But two, you are going to notice a few more shops that are boarded up because those local business owners, especially through everything that's been happening in the last few years, couldn't keep their business running. Now, of course, this also creates some great opportunity for new businesses and new residents to come in, make Hamilton home, and create their own culture. Now, some reasons why people absolutely love living in the downtown core is, one, it's the most affordable area to buy real estate or to rent, as well as it has the most amount of options available to you. Then another pro about living in the downtown core is there's something to do every single weekend and realistically every single day of the week, as not only do you have a wide variety of different sports teams located in Hamilton, but there's always something to do on the weekend in Hess Village, as well as performers, whether that's live music or comedy shows or theaters, are coming to downtown Hamilton to perform. Then the next area let's take a look at are two areas in particular, and they're very similar, and that's both Ancaster and Dundas. Now, Ancaster, one of the major cons about living there is the real estate prices are on the high side, especially for Ancaster, as this is one of the most expensive areas you can go ahead and buy real estate. But another negative about living in both of these areas here is it does have that small town feel. And while that definitely is a pro for some people, if you like that downtown lifestyle of something always going on, something to do, these areas might not be best for you unless you want to be commuting a lot to downtown's core. As overall, both of these are that small town feel, and as a result, a lot of the local businesses still run on small town hours where they're shut off after 6, 7 p.m. at night, as well as closed on Sundays, depending on the business. However, on the flip side, some of the reasons why residents love living in these areas is one, it has some of the best schools in all of Hamilton, not only with just the elementary and high schools, but also you're just a short drive away from McMaster University. And then the second pro is the waterfalls. As in Ancaster and Dundas, you have access to some of the most iconic waterfalls within Hamilton's borders. In particular is Two's Falls, and if you hike a little bit further, you can check out Dundas Peak or Webster Falls, and then in Ancaster, you can also find Tiffany Falls. And then the next two areas we're going to take a look at are Waterdown, which is closer to Burlington, and then on the opposite side of Hamilton is Stony Creek. And both of these places really have a similar look and feel, as they have that old classic downtown core with some mom and pop local restaurants that only the residents know. But two, there's a lot of expansion going on here, and therefore the first pro that residents love living here is because of the newer real estate opportunities that are being developed. Now, on the flip side to this, one of the negatives about these two areas here is the traffic. As in Waterdown, there's a massive bottleneck around the Dundas Street, especially during rush hour times, where it definitely is going to add a lot of extra minutes to your commute. Where Stony Creek, on the other side, if you're planning on commuting to Toronto, is gonna have all the traffic backed up from the Skyway Bridge. And then not to mention, all this extra development is only going to add on to the extra traffic times. And then another negative is because there is so much development, so many people want to move to these areas that it's causing, again, more gentrification in these areas here, where it's pushing people out and causing the housing prices and just the cost of living overall to continue to increase in these areas. However, one of the pros about living in these areas like Dundas, like Ancaster, is some amazing waterfalls for you to enjoy. As not only do you have Smoky Hollow Waterfall, Felker's Falls, Devil's Punch Bowl, but you also have 50 Point Conservation Area, which is a great campground for you to enjoy the outdoors and enjoy Lake Ontario. But you also have Confederation Park in Stony Creek, which is home to Hamilton's Adventure Village, which has a wide variety of different activities from mini putt to batting cages, but it's also home to Hamilton's water park, Wild Waterworks. So now you've learned the major pros about living in Stony Creek and Waterdown. If you're interested in learning more pros and cons about either Dundas, Ancaster, Stony Creek, Waterdown, or any one of the other areas in Hamilton, I'd highly recommend you go check out my playlist, where each video I break down the exact pros and cons of living in these areas. Then the final two areas we're going to be chatting about are Flamborough and Glanbrook, as these are the two more rural areas of Hamilton and are the least developed. And as a result, one of the major cons about living in these areas is the lack of amenities, as overall, you're going to definitely spend a lot more time in the car, driving to the grocery store, driving to the gym, driving your kids around, or just your kids getting to school is going to be a bit harder in these areas here. And then the second major con about living in these areas is because it's that rural area, it definitely lacks that public transportation that Hamilton is great for. As overall, because you're in the rural areas, there's just less people taking the public transportation, and therefore less of a support for the people that do want to take it. Now, on the flip side to this, of course, the rural communities are going to come with all the pros of living in a rural community, which is just more space, better prices for real estate, as well as it's just a bit more quiet and more private from your neighbors. And then the second pro is because this is in the rural area, it's still home to a lot of farmers that used to dominate this area, and as a result, it's quite easy to find some local produce on those warmer months. So there you have it. Those were the major pros and cons of living in each one of those areas in Hamilton. I hope this gives you a better idea of which areas of Hamilton are right for you, so you don't regret it. And if you're thinking about moving here and want help from a professional, feel free to shoot me a message. I'd be happy to help you out. And if you're looking to learn more about the pros and cons of Stony Creek, Waterdown, Ancaster, Dundas, you name it, I have a video on it, or I'll be releasing a video soon, and you can find all those videos on my playlist right here for you to check out. So I hope you find this helpful. I hope you have a great day, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Take care.